All right, 3 months after a Sammamish City Councilwoman filed a complaint with the Public Disclosure Commission, the PDC, directed at Let's Go Washington and Undivided podcaster host Brandy Cruz, PDC staff are moving that case ahead. It's really a formality. Nothing new happened in the case at all. You wouldn't know that by some of the reporting with the local TV stations that went down after the PDC held a hearing on the matter last week. Now, Sammamish Councilwoman Pam Stuart is the one who filed this complaint back on May 12th of this year. She did that in her capacity as a communications liaison with Washingtonians for Ethical Government, alleging that Brian Heywood, founder of Let's Go Washington, violated Washington's Fair Campaign Practices Act, the FBCA. She alleges that there have been, this Pam Stewart alleges there have been 159 instances, at least, of political advertising by Brandy Cruz on behalf of Let's Go Washington in support of two of their ballot initiatives. The initiative that voters are going to be voting on this November to protect girls in sports and parental rights. Of course, we also have the initiative that's going to attempt to or ask voters if they want to repeal Washington's new income tax. But we're talking about these two initiatives in particular that Brandy is pretty passionate about and has spent quite a bit of time talking about on her show. Now, whether or not she has a First Amendment right to talk about those, or whether or not every time she talks about it, it amounts to campaigning for Let's Go Washington, that's kind of the crux of the matter. I caught up with Brandy Cruz on Saturday to get her take on all of this.
So it seems very clear that this was another round of strategic headlines pushed by the progressive cabal that is trying to sort of undermine my credibility, undermine Let's Go Washington's credibility, and the media just plays into it. You know, Cairo 7, Fox 13, they did these stories. They didn't ask me for comment. I just found out they didn't ask Let's Go Washington for comment. They did get comment from the people who filed the bogus complaint. So the media is really complicit in all of this. But I've said from the beginning, I have never taken a dime to support anything. I've never taken a dime or been offered any money, frankly, to support a political candidate, to support any of the initiatives. I don't need anybody to give me money to support what I believe is the women's rights issue of a generation. And so this is all based on nothing. You know, this complaint alleges that I've given like more than $1 million in free political advertising to Let's Go Washington. The argument they're essentially making is that my speech isn't free anymore, that because I advertise on my show, that now all my speech has a price to it. And so I can never again take a position, make an endorsement or anything without it having an assigned value. And so it's bogus. It'll never stand, but that's not the point. The point was getting the negative headlines and trying to ruin my credibility as I'm pushing to protect girls' sports and parental rights.
Now, I remind you that this Pam Stewart, this Sammamish City Councilwoman who filed the complaint back on May 12th, was accused of intimidating signature gatherers outside a Safeway store earlier this year. There was a guy and his brother out collecting voter signatures for Let's Go Washington's attempt to repeal the income tax. And there was a bit of an exchange with Ms. Stewart and these two gentlemen. Police ended up being called. So I want to share with you part of Brandy Cruz on her Undivided podcast conversation with one of these signature gatherers about their exchange with Ms. Stewart.
And so once the police left, she followed me around and me and my brother, and she was harassing us, essentially just, telling us we're not supposed to be here. We shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then she began to start following people in the parking lot around, like going out to them and telling them, hey, don't sign this. These guys they're not even from here. They're just being paid by billionaires. They don't care about us or this issue, and some people were basically just like, lady, screw off. I'm going to sign this, whether a couple of people signed because she said not to. It was pretty funny.
Wow. So did you feel like she hindered your ability to collect signatures?
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. She blocked us and obstructed us from signature gathering. She more so my brother than me, because at one point she was just completely talking over him, explaining the initiative to people. Gross misdemeanors is a serious offense, when it comes to obstructing the signature gathering process, because this is just democracy at its roots, right? It's our First Amendment right.
What was your reaction? That
Yes,
that woman who was nasty towards you is a city council member in that town?
I was surprised. I thought that was honestly the craziest part about the whole day, was learning that she was an elected official, completely unprofessional. She doesn't have any business being an elected official for sure.
Now, it does not appear at this point that any charges ended up ever being filed against Pam Stuart for that, what these signature gatherers called, harassment, interference with signature gathering. Again, no evidence that any charges were filed, but it did, that incident and several others where, people were being intimidated, harassed, at times even threatened. Signature gatherers were in other instances. You may recall that prompted the office of Attorney General Nick Brown to put out a warning to say you can't do that. They have a constitutional right to be out there collecting signatures, and you can't get in their way. You can't grab their petitions. You can't push over their tables. We've seen all of those things happen and more. Now, Heywood of Let's Go Washington kind of bemoaned the fact that when this stuff was reported on last week by Cairo Television and by Q13, they didn't make any attempt to reach out to Let's Go Washington or to Brandy Cruz to say, what gives? What do you make of this complaint? PDC held a hearing on it this week. What do you have to say for yourself? Are you guys in the wrong, or why do you think, you haven't done anything wrong? So Brian Heywood spoke with me about that last evening.
They're trying to say, well, Brandy Cruz can't have her own opinion. It must be paid. And so the complaint against us, they filed like 159 issues where they said somehow she'd given us something. We got questions from the PDC that said, have you ever paid Brandy Cruz? Our answer is no, we've never paid Brandy Cruz. Let's Go Washington's never paid her for anything. They said, have you ever paid anyone else that has paid Brandy Cruz? And the answer to that is no. And that question is really interesting to me, because I suspect the reason we're getting that question is because that's what the other side does. They pay people to do it. So why are they asking us? It had never occurred to me to do that. So it feels like they're sort of exposing how they do in that. That we've never gotten anything from her. We've never given anything from her, given anything to her. She's been out there doing this very much because there's things that she, from everything she tells us, really believes in it. And I guarantee you, it's not easy to get people to come out and support something if they don't believe in it. So it feels like it's sort of political intimidation.
Now, Peter Lavallee, who is the executive director at the PDC, sent this email to Let's Go Washington's attorney about the hearing they held last week and kind of where the case stands now. We'll put this up for you. After conducting a preliminary review and assessment of a complaint filed by Pam Stuart concerning Let's Go Washington, PDC staff opened a formal investigation and held an initial hearing on August 12th, 2026. And he cites some of the revised Code of Washington and the Washington Administrative Code. At the hearing, it was noted that the initial hearing is not an adjudicative proceeding, and that this RCW provides PDC staff with additional tools to resolve complaints through the use of alternatives to full formal adjudication or referral to the AG's office. I'm encouraging you to work with staff on resolving this matter. Again, that was from Peter Lavallee, executive director at the PDC. So be open-ended. They don't have a time frame. I received some information today from another person in the office of the PDC that said really this was just going to the next phase. Have no timeline for how this will be resolved, or if in fact there's some finding to this complaint, what that means. Could that be a fine? Could it just be an agreement with Brandy Cruz or Let's Go Washington? We don't think you should say and do this, or if you do, you need to report it. Who knows? But it's interesting timing, of course, because we have these highly contentious initiatives on the ballot this November. And Let's Go Washington and Brandy Cruz are both convinced that really this is just, politically motivated and meant to kind of, cast aspersions on their organization and on Cruz herself. So we'll follow this. If something more is to come, we'll let you know. And I am putting up an article at the Center Square Washington page for much more on this today.